Welcome to today's bite-sized learning of Terraform. Today we are going to be looking at string functions. We're going to do this in two parts, and we're going to look at the first 10 functions. There are currently 21 functions that you can do operations on strings in Terraform. This first function is called the chomp function. This essentially removes new line characters that are in the end. So it's kind of like a trim. It's just for if you parse something out of a file and you need to strip off new lines that are in it, things of that nature, you just run it through the chomp function and it's going to give you just the content of that line without any new lines on the end. Ends with is a true false statement, so this can be used in conjunction with conditionals. You basically feed in the string as the first piece of input and then the suffix that you want to check the end of on that input string. So in this case of hello world, checking if world is what it ends with, this returns true. Checking hello returns false. Very useful for conditionals when you need to see if something ends with a particular suffix. Format is very similar to other languages like printf or format conditions that you can do in strings. You can essentially use this little %s or %d, and then how many ever of those you provide in the formatted string spec, you provide the values of those onto the end. You can use this in conjunction with variables. So if you have a variable like var.name, you can print hello, and then you can put in the var.name as the string pattern that's going to be your string spec, and that'll print out the variable in conjunction with whatever hard-coded strings you want in your spec. There's also this special verb prevent or percent number v, and it accepts value of any type, presenting it in JSON encoding. Can be useful for describing the values in check conditions. They have some examples here of checking hello, checking true, checking one, checking maps. And you can see the way that it outputs it. It outputs it in such a way that it kind of preserves the quotes and whatnot that would be around it after it's processed. So it could be useful. Format list is similar to format. The difference is that it allows you to format strings where you iterate through a list of things. So like in this example of hello, I can pass in a list of names that I want to iterate through, and it's going to print out a list with each of those hellos as indexes of the list. You can have as many of these permutations as you want. You can nest them. It's just going to iterate through and produce every combination that you specify in a flat list. So it can be useful in certain cases. Indent is useful when you have a string that already has indents in it. So in this case of items, we want to maybe print out, items and preserve the indentation that items already comes with. This may be known or unknown at the time. What you can do is feed it into the indent function where you say that it should be additionally indented an extra 2. And then you can give the string format that needs to be in there where it's a double indent. And what it's going to do is essentially add the first 2 indents on to match the indent of the initial item, and then it's going to treat this as literal new line bar with the double spaces, new line foo. This is input. The extra 2 indents are added to the front by the indent function. Join. So join is for taking a list of separate strings and appending them together with some separator. It's typically done with either a dash or a comma. You can basically take a list of items and append them all together. As you can see in this example with dash, there's no spaces, so it's just foo baz. And then here it's a comma and a space, so it's foo space comma space bar comma space baz comma space. One long string, getting rid of the indexes. This is useful for things like if you have lists of IP addresses or lists of really anything that you need to serve up as an output. You can kind of run it through a join and output it all as a single string that can be processed by a downstream system that may be parsing the output of the Terraform. Lower is pretty straightforward. It just converts everything to lowercase. This is useful if you need to do some sort of conditional check or match and you don't really care about case. You can just make it all lower. And it's important that it uses the Unicode definition of letters for uppers and lowers, so it's not just limited to, you know, the normal 26. It lowers other special characters that are part of the alphabet, the Unicode alphabet. I'm not going to be covering regex here as far as how to use it, but there is a regex function where you can specify a regex pattern with a string. And what it'll do is it'll print out all of the pattern groups. So these are all the rules of regex. I'm not going to cover pretty much the same as any other languages regex. You can read those definitions if you want, but this is the pattern, this is the input, and what it does is it prints out matches of the groupings, right? So this is a group, a group, a group, and when you parse this input, these are the groups that come out matching. And then if there is no match, you will get an error if there is no group that comes out of this at all. Regex all is similar. The difference is that regex all returns a list of whatever type of regex would have returned with one element per match. So an example of this is that it will apply this pattern to any group that it finds in there. So in this case, it's parsing A to Z, any occurrence, any number, one or more occurrence of A to Z, and it basically has identified these two groups and returns it, versus regex where it is literally the first match that comes out is what is printed in the groupings. It expects groupings to be already predefined. Replace, I think that this is number 10. I'm going to quickly check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Replace is the last one that we're going to cover in this video. Replace is where you have a string of input. Excuse me. You have a substring that you want to match on, and then you have what you want to substitute in. So in this case of 1 plus 2 plus 3, we want to replace the plus with the minus. It outputs this. And in the case of, you can also do regex in the match. So this is all word characters. And what it does is it substitutes W and then any characters down to D, the next D that it finds, and it identifies it's a regex with the slashes, and it wants to replace whatever it finds in this with everybody. It finds a match on world and it replaces it with hello everybody. Some really cool functions. We will come back to you with a part 2 of the remaining string functions in the next video. If you enjoyed this video and this coverage of kind of walking through the documentation, please make sure that you give a like and subscribe, and I'll be back with you with more Terraform content in the very near future. Have an excellent day.